Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. I am in Valencia this weekend, about to do Valencia Marathon. I've done it before, but last time I did it, I was significantly slower than I have been over my last few marathons. So I'm going to give it another go. I'm not sure I'm going to be taking my phone with me, so that's why I'm recording this now in the dark. I'm going to be aiming for a sub 3, but I'm not confident about it. And I'm going to be wearing the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, which I've only used up to 10k distance, so a little bit of a gamble today, but really looking forward to it. Weather's meant to be amazing, and yeah, I'll be back in a bit. Okay, it's 4 days after the Valencia Marathon and I am back in the UK now. I had planned to record a video after the race, but I was out there with a few friends and we got a little bit excited and decided to go to the bars instead. And I've been on holiday for a few days as well, so I haven't actually got round to doing a video and editing it. But the Valencia Marathon is a fantastic marathon. It's one of the few marathons that I've actually done twice. Me and Nick actually did it a few years back before we started the Run Testers, and we're really big fans of that race. It's very quickly becoming one of the most popular big marathons, especially in Europe, and for good reason. It's really well organised. The course is fantastic. The start and end point is really, really impressive. The route is really nice as well. You've got loads to look at. It's really wide roads for the most part, apart from maybe the first 2 or 3k, which can get a little bit congested. But once you get out there, it really widens out. There's loads of water every 5k on the course. There's quite a lot of gels on the course as well. They have normal gels and caffeine gels. I can't remember what the brand is. It's not a brand that I've used before. I did have a couple of those gels on course and they were absolutely fine. Organisation, everything fantastic. It's one of the best marathons I've ever done, and I was really looking forward to going back and doing it again. Probably the most impressive part of Valencia Marathon is the finish line. That goes through the science and arts area in Valencia, which is this really modern, built-up, artistic-looking series of buildings. But the finish line goes across this little water feature, which is like a little man-made lake in the middle of the centre, and it looks really impressive. It's all blue. It looks fantastic. Whenever you see images of Valencia Marathon, you're likely to see that finish point, and I put it down as one of, if not the favourite finish line that I've ever done in a marathon. And I've done about 30 something marathons now. Can't quite remember the exact number. Other things to say about the race, obviously this year Valencia has had a lot of problems over the past few months. We weren't entirely sure if it was going to go ahead, but it did, thankfully, and it was really well done, and really nice to get out there and do the race again. The expo that has changed this year. So when we originally did the race back in, I think, 2019, the expo was in the same position as the start and finish area, but it's moved now to quite far out of the city, so it's about 8 kilometers out of the centre, which is quite difficult to get to, especially at the moment because a lot of the transport is down, especially the tubes. So it's quite a tough trip out to the expo. It's an alright expo. It's not one of the best expos I've ever been to, but it's got everything you'd expect from a major marathon expo, and it's well worth a visit. There's lots of bits and pieces going on, very similar to what you get from things like London Marathon. It's not as big as London Marathon Expo, but there is quite a lot you can do. You get t-shirts printed and things like that. Other things to say about the marathon is that that Valencia is a fantastic city to do a marathon in, because when it's nice to walk down at the start. It's still relatively warm. I walk down in a t-shirt, and afterwards you're in the middle of Valencia and there's loads of bars and everything. It's really nice vibe in Valencia if you're doing the marathon, so it's well worth doing. The other thing I'd say about Valencia is it's becoming increasingly more popular, which means that over time it's getting more and more likely that it's going to get harder to get in. So if you're planning on doing a big marathon, worth getting into Valencia early, because it's not a ballot at the moment. You can actually it does it in waves, so you get cheaper tickets the earlier you get it, but over time, as it gets more and more popular, it's very likely that it's probably going to become a ballot like many of the other big marathons. I also wouldn't be surprised if at some point it became a major. Now there are more majors appearing, because it really is one of the best races out there that you can do. Now the course itself, as I've mentioned, it's pretty flat. It's a really, really fast course, and the only thing that really affects runners out on that course is the heat, if it gets a little bit hot later on. Once you get into the 22s, 23s, 24s, you can start to feel that, especially if you're out for a longer period of time. There is a cut-off in the race, which I think is about 5.5 hours. So nobody's out there for like 8 hours or 9 hours in the sun. But still, if you're one of those runners that's running around that pace, you're going to have a lot more sun than some of the faster runners. So take that in mind if you're planning on doing it. But if you're okay with the heat, it's a great place to go and race. And it's a great time of year to do it. Start of December, people winding down for Christmas, people looking forward to a couple of weeks off over Christmas. It's a nice little thing to start off the period of the Christmas period with. And also it means that you're training over the autumn as well, which isn't too bad. It depends where you live, but this year in England it's been a bit of a mixed bag. So there's been a lot of rain, so it's not been a great training period over the autumn this year. But we can get lucky, and it can be quite a nice time to train, and you're not having to deal with too much cold weather. My race wasn't that successful, so I ran 3:14 something. I did want to get a sub 3. I have trained for this race, but I've not trained as hard as I did for Chicago and Berlin. Chicago and Berlin, I got 2 hours 55 in Chicago and 2 hours 53 in Berlin. Felt great on those races. My pacing was really good for both of those. Not as good in Berlin. My Chicago was perfect. For this Valencia, I did want to get sub 3, but I wasn't really sure I'd be able to get sub 3. I haven't done as much endurance training, long runs at marathon pace as I had done previously, and that really showed in the race. First half of the race, I hit 1 hour 29, and at that point I realised I would struggle to maintain that pace for the rest of the marathon. There's no way I'd got a 1:29 after that. So mentally, I wasn't really ready for it. Also, my car started playing up at around 23k, and yeah, I just struggled after that. So I ended up with 3:14, which I'm happy with. I wasn't going for a PB or anything like that. I just wanted to hopefully get under sub 3, but I was a bit of a way off from that. So yeah, more training needs to be done. I don't think I'm going to massively go all out for Manchester Marathon in April. I don't particularly like training over the winter, so I think I might take that as a bit of an enjoyable marathon and maybe focus more on a marathon in 2026 and maybe use 2025 for half marathon distance and faster efforts over 10k. But all in all, Valencia, fantastic marathon, fantastic course, really well organised. If you're looking at doing a marathon and you want something that's really big and exciting like the marathon majors, Valencia is a great option for that. It can be quite expensive to fly over there if you're going over the immediate dates of the marathon. So if you're going out on like the Friday and coming back on the Monday, can get very expensive. So I went for a bit longer, and I actually went over to Alicante afterwards so that I could get different flights back. And it's not too bad if you plan it out like that. Hotels are quite expensive over the weekend as well. You can get lucky with a few, but you really need to book far ahead to get some good deals on those. All in all though, fantastic event. Nick unfortunately couldn't do it. He's a bit injured, but I did see him on the course and he did shout at me. But he has done it before. So right, let's dive in and see what kit I used. Okay, so the shoe that I decided to use was the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. Now this shoe I have used a few times. I've raced in it, but only up to 10k distance. So I wasn't really sure if this would work for me over the marathon distance. Normally, I would go for something like the Alphafly 1, Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, which is what I have my 2 fastest times in the marathon. But for now, I didn't want to use my older shoes. One, because I don't want to keep using my Alphafly 1s because I want to save them for a time when I'm really feeling fit and I'm going for a full-on PB. But also I wanted to try out one of the new shoes that I've got. So the toss-up was between the Metaspeed Sky Paris and the Celo X1. I think I made the wrong choice, to be honest. I really like the Metaspeed Sky Paris, and the reason that I went for it is because everybody voted for it in the awards that we had a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to see. I voted for it as a great shoe for running fast in, but my knowledge of it is for shorter distances. I've done intervals and longer sessions at a faster pace, but I've only raced up to 10k in this shoe. So I wanted to see what it was like and if it worked for me as well as it has the other guys. Both Nick and Kieran have got PBs in this shoe. And it is a great shoe. It's really fast, really picks up the pace nicely, nice smooth motion in it. For me, it just feels like it's lacking a little bit of midsole that I like. I like a little bit more softness in the midsole. I like it a bit of a wider base on it. I like to really feel the squish and the bounce in there. I think the Metaspeed Sky Paris has that. It's just a bit less. It's more of a fast shoe for really flicking you forward with that carbon plate. And the midsole for me, it's not as soft as I'd like from a marathon shoe. The pace that I run, which is about 4 minute 10 kilometers over marathon distance, what I'm looking for is to settle into that pace really comfortably and just have nice fresh legs and just be able to maintain that pace for a long period. That's why the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3 worked really well for me. It's a very subtle shoe that doesn't really bound you forward, really push you on really quickly, but it just feels very comfortable and you just maintain a nice pace. Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris, loved it for 10k because I'm going all out on those at 3 minute 50 pace. But for the marathon, I think it just didn't have the softness that I needed towards the second half, especially. And that's partly to do with my fitness at the moment, but also I did feel it in the latter half. I did feel like I didn't quite get as much softness and enjoyment from that midsole as I would have got from something like the Alphafly 1 or the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, but really like this shoe, and I'm going to use it more over the next year for short distance races because I think that's how it works well for me, but won't be using it for a marathon. I think I should have used the Celo X1 because that just feels a little bit more like the Alphafly to me, a little bit more to that midsole and a little bit more of a smoother transition as opposed to a faster transition, which is what I'm getting from the Asics Metaspeed Sky Paris. But great shoe, just not quite one that I enjoyed using as much as I thought I would based on all of the run testers and their experiences in those shoes. Another thing worth mentioning is that I also wore monkey socks to race in. Fantastic socks those. I'm a bit late with monkey socks. I know some of the other guys have tested them earlier in the year. Did mention them in the Christmas guide video. Fantastic socks, really, really comfortable throughout that race, really breathable, had no issues at all. They felt great inside the Metaspeed Sky Paris. And yeah, definitely suggest them to anybody who's looking for some really good quality running socks, and they're looking to loads of nice colorways and stuff as well, so well worth looking at those if you want some fancy socks. So that's it from me on Valencia Marathon 2024. Not as successful as maybe I'd want it to be, but I had a great time, love that marathon, and well worth doing if you're looking for a really big scale, nice marathon that pretty much has everything that you'd want from a marathon. If you want to listen to our podcast, you can go to the link in the caption below, and we will see you soon with another video. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.